Yeah, I want to talk about the 1% Occupy Wall Street again, but put a couple twists on things with Lindsey Williams and, other things that go on. When this movement first came out, Occupy Wall Street, I thought it was good in principle, but I kind of saw it was going to be like a problem, a dead end. Because even though there was some good hardcore people that understood what was going on, it's like when you get out there and you protest in the street, it's like, what the hell are you really doing? It's kind of setting you up for a confrontation with the cops. And, the cops could be good, could be bad. Usually they're good, most of the time. But, what they answer to. They answer to the money, right? Who pays their salary? The money, right? So you got to watch, and walk around in eggshells when you're out there protesting, or else you're going to get slammed. So really, what could you got out of it for protest for Occupy Wall Street? Basically nothing, because people up there in their ivory towers making all kinds of money, and you're down there on the street yelling and protesting in the rain, cold, or hot weather, or whatever it is, taking off of work, and you're not accomplishing anything. The actual way to protest them is to get out of the financial assets and the banking institutions that they are a part of. And that is to use credit unions, physical silver, even physical paper cash, and that type of stuff, and minimize the amount of financial institutions that you have to use that are part of the financial establishment in the United States. That's how you could take away from some of their power. And, when you think about it, silver, people are into physical silver. They're in a very small minority. They're very much less than a 1%. They're very much less than a 1% themselves. So you could think of yourself as part of an elite group because you own physical silver. You might think of it that way. Nobody else is doing this. The lemmings are not thinking. I don't know what the hell to say. And I want to point out something about a lot of things in general. The reason a 1% gets to be on the top like that is because they know how to sell, and they're charismatic, they know how to sell to people, and they know how to calm people that they're going to take care of their medical problems, they're going to take care of their financial problems, and people let them. And then they don't question. And it's like they want to be led around by the nose. And you know what? The only thing that's actually going to cure that problem is when these people get clobbered. I'm talking about the 99%. The 99% are starting to feel it now, but they're basically going to get clobbered. And, we haven't really seen the big downturn in the economy and the big financial crash that some of the heavyweights have been warning about, Jim Rogers and Mark Faber, for instance. We haven't seen that. There's going to be a bigger crash than what was in 2008, 2009 coming up. That's going to happen probably in 2013. That's maybe more like mid-year or something, but it's probably going to happen. So when that happens, that's when that 90% is going to get clobbered. And it's really my opinion that since people don't want to think, take charge of their own affairs, be as independent as possible, that type of thing, they're going to be subjected to the whims of the upper echelon, and they're going to suffer the consequences. It's like they're sitting in a trap, and they're allowing themselves to be in that trap. And the only solution that's probably going to come down on them is when that population gets cold, depopulated. And at that time, then people are going to wake up if it's not too late. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I think that's the way it's going to play out, So who the hell knows? Now, I want to point out something about this guy, Lindsey Williams. I've commented on him a few times and stuff, but, he's got a nice, benign method. And, this is always my problem with people that are in professional fields. And, I could play this game, too. I could talk real sweet and educated and la, 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 la. And I don't like doing it. I like talking plain. And it's like, it's rehearsed. It's rehearsed. That's what I got to say. It's almost like the person's so benign and inoffensive that you trust what he says. I don't trust Lindsey Williams too much, to tell you the truth. At best, he's getting a lot of bad information that's way off on a timetable. Because, he'll state now that the timetable of the elite has been pushed, off, and that they're behind schedule. Yeah, maybe. Gaddafi took too long. The Putin interfered with Syria. Maybe. But before he's stating many times over that oil was going to be between 150 to 200 a barrel between June and October 2011. Now, it could skyrocket here soon if we have a war with Iran, like some pair people are speculating, possibly pretty soon. It may. But it's not going to be due to any prediction by Lindsey Williams, because he's already blown the predictions. The timetable has been way off. Now, that's why I don't know. I think people listening to this guy, Lindsey Williams, are pretty much on the ball because they want to think, they want to see what's going on. And in general, he's right, but then I can find the same information out through the major media for the most part. If I'm just writing down the facts with a pencil and paper, I can pretty much determine what the outcome is going to be. That the derivatives bubble is going to burst. That's the next thing he's worrying about. Now, he actually changed his mind about the euro. Last year, he was stating that the euro, when it fell, he had 2 weeks to get out of everything on paper. This year, he's saying, don't worry about the euro. That's not a sign. He's saying that if Greece goes down, Spain goes down, Italy goes down, don't worry about what's going on in euro. It's the derivatives market. Cracks in the derivatives market. Changed his mind about it again. And I don't know if he's getting, well, whatever. That's supposedly what he's being told. And he goes, how do you know that? Ask him, how do you know you're going to have a crack in the derivatives market? There'll be currency wars. Well, that's great. Well, in reality, I don't know what use this guy's information is other than he's selling these books and DVDs and other things, and he goes on these interviews, and I'm sure there's some kind of financial angle with that. And I personally, a lot of people might hate me for saying this, but a lot of times I find these guys going around with the religion, pastors and all this type of stuff, they know how to play it. They know how to play it too. They're just as bad as any attorney, doctor, could be even a bean counter to one of those guys too. They know how to play it. They know how to play the deal. And I don't like it. So this guy's selling DVDs. That's what I look at it. It's not in a nutshell. He's selling DVDs. So, and interviews. I think when he goes on these shows, he gets money somehow or another too. Nothing's for total free. So there's always contributions. There's always something coming. I know he's not making out like Harold Camping, with $74 million net worth, but this is his game. This is his bread and butter, and that's what he plays. That's what he's doing. But I'd like to know is, how good is the information? It's not helping me any. I mean, everything he said, well, the timetable changed, or they changed their mind, or no, it's going to... Iran was supposed to be invaded a while ago, but no, the timetable's off. Then it came out with, look at YouTube videos on retired General Wesley Clark. And he's talked about the hit list to confirm what Lindsey Williams was saying, right? Well, for all I know, this elite guy could have been watching General Wesley Williams and told it to Lindsey Williams. You don't know what the hell's going on. You know what I mean? This elite guy could have been watching General Wesley Clark and told Lindsey Williams what was going to happen. I mean, it's really smelling like a bunch of BS, okay? This is my take on it. A lot of people don't like it, but I smell BS left and right. And the reality behind it is the attack on Iran could have happened years ago. Depends on a lot of things, because certain people were trying to get this attack going years ago. If Bush won the election again, it probably would have attacked. If Cheney would have won an election, it probably would have attacked. If different people were in power, it probably would have happened. So there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, and I don't think anybody knows exactly what's going to happen. It looks like it's going to happen pretty soon, though. I mean, it's been looking like that pretty soon for the last few years, but it's looking even more like that. So, but when it happens, I don't want people to go freaking out too much, because I know what the rhetoric is going to be out of Russia. Russia is going to use this to freaking slam the West as much as possible in the eyes of the world. And while they're smiling to the bank all the way, making all kinds of money off the high oil prices, because that is where Putin gets most of his money. Oil, lots of money. So despite their rhetoric, Russia has an interest in pushing this war too. That's going to help them a hell of a lot financially. So, I know Lindsey Williams is wondering, I don't know what caused Putin to back down. I think Putin backed down because it's good for his pocketbook. How's that, Lindsey Williams? This is my opinion, okay? But that's what I said this. If you look back at one of my videos from like a freaking year ago, I was saying this stuff. They're going to play the card like the West is the evil empire slamming Iran. But you know what? It's great for the Russian economy. Their big export is oil. And it's great for Putin. See? That's why this whole thing is like the elite must have caused them to back. I don't know what they did. Maybe they didn't do anything. Maybe this whole thing is just set up. That's how I think, okay? I'm going to say something about myself here. I'm a major nonconformist. Major nonconformist. And I remember back in the 60s when the hippie movement came out. And I agree with some people told me. It's like that basically is a conformist movement. So pretty much anything I see pushed in the major media, and the hippie movement was pushed in the major media, anything pushed out of Hollywood, I totally reject. Reject it to the max. Always have been this way. When the Beatles mania was out back in the 60s, pretty much didn't like most of that too. Most of the stuff I couldn't stand. I thought they were a bunch of bullshit. But people know how they get led around by the nose. Anytime the Beatles back then put out a record, it was the greatest thing in the world. I was like, Jesus Christ, man, it's bullshit. It was like sometimes they were good, but most of the time, no. I thought they were stupid. Remember the stupid song Yellow Submarine? I couldn't believe the number of stupid morons that thought was a great song. That was the dumbest thing I ever heard in my life. You know why? Because they're conformists. They're brainwashed. And yet they thought they were being anti-establishment. That's why I smell Occupy Wall Street as a bunch of bullshit, and Lindsey Williams and all this other crap in the alternative media. Who the hell made the counterculture in the 60s? The elite. Remember that. Who made the drug culture? The elite. Who made the hippie culture, the anti-Vietnam War culture? The elite. They made it look like they were going against the establishment. They're doing what the establishment wanted them to do. That's the game from day one. I'm giving you a straight scoop, man. Now, I want to talk about thinking outside the box. And, never been associated. Well, I could talk myself up like bullshit, but I'm not going to play games because, I don't know, I can, if I emphasize certain things that I know or associated with, I can make myself look a certain way. Anybody could do that. I could really talk up a bunch of garbage if I want to, but I don't want to say nothing. But, I was looking at some stuff at this, organized crime, the mafia, and that type of stuff. When Alex Jones talks about the mafia, he uses the word very loosely. He uses it like the opposite of what it is. He talks about these snake oil professional bankster scumbags. They're not the mafia. They're not the mafia. The mafia is not that. It never has been. It never will be. The mafia is against the establishment. It's against oppressors. They're sometimes they are the oppressors, but basically there's a reason they exist, and there's a reason even these crime. The outlaw biker gangs exist, right? Which are, the minority, the 1%ers, as they refer them to. Probably more like the 1 basis point, because there were actually 100th of 1% versus a full 1%, because that's how small the numbers are. But, the one thing that always kept these organizations going, it's just like when I talked about in the 30s, they always had the gangsters back in the 30s. A lot of the population indirectly supported them. You know why? Because they were against, the gangsters were against the banksters. That's basically who they're ripping off. And people were so fed up with the banks, they indirectly supported the gangsters. And, you might see a lot more of this kind of stuff happening today. Again, one angle I've always wondered about in the drug trade, I'm a person who never smoked marijuana either. I'm more like a health nut. But, The one thing I actually did, and I've probably done this to excess, was, I do the espressos. I take the quadruple espressos and have like about 20 or 30 a day. I've been laying off that stuff for the last few months, but yeah, really, that's about as bad as doing drugs. But it's all legal because it's caffeine. But when you're having at least 20 or 30 espressos a day, that's a lot of ups. You know what I mean? Now that's one thing I would do a lot because I like being alert, physically and mentally all the time, and I just exercise a lot. I like doing that. But I never did any kind of actual, drugs that were illegal. And the reason I played the method with the caffeine, strong caffeine, was because, I don't like ever calling attention to myself. I'll never have a tattoo for that reason. I don't like calling attention to myself. I like playing a game where I can fit in right with the established conservatives right to the max. I like playing that game. But I don't think I actually think like an average person. I don't think I do. And one thing I always wondered about with organized crime and even these biker gangs was actually get a lot of their money through drugs and stuff like that. How come they never pushed medicinal marijuana oil as a drug that you could sell? It's illegal, but we know that medicinal marijuana oil is cure oil for pretty much everything, including cancer, a major killer. I mean, you look at the medical establishment. They'll financially rape a family for like $500,000, destroy, everything they have and make them sell everything. And then the family member eventually dies of cancer in a slower, more torturous process by chemo and radiation therapy. And what happens? The doctors tried, they're God, they did the best, and, it's amazing. But if people could have access to medicinal marijuana oil in some fashion or another, they'd probably get cured. Any kind of enterprising group, whether it be some mafia family or, biker gang, could take this product, grow it, mark it up easily 1,000%, which would still be way under chemotherapy, sell it to these people. But you know what kind of image that would present on the group? That's one thing that people need for power, because it's always the image. It's like, remember, the mafia started not by being an oppressor. It started as being somebody fighting against the oppressors. And that's an important consideration. But there's one angle the biker groups have that works better than the mafia. It's the RICO laws. The RICO laws work very effective against the mafia because, why did this organization come about? It's a criminal enterprise. That's the only reason they're associated with each other. But with a biker gang, or biker group, or whatever you want to call it a group, right? They're associated over the Harley-Davidson motorcycle. They're a riding group. They're not. There may be people doing illegal things, but the purpose of the organization is about ownership and riding and maintaining a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. It has nothing to do with the main purpose of the organization. Is not for it's not for criminal activity. Even though some people doing criminals, you can't use the RICO law against the group as a whole because that's not the purpose of the group. They got a really, really smart thing. They do. And actually, the organized crime kind of figured this out too. But I just always wonder why medicinal marijuana oil has not been available in large quantities through one of these organizations, because whatever organization took the ball and ran with it on this, it would be profitable, but it would be more profitable in this way: prestige and image. An image in the eyes of the public. In other words, a lot of times the mafia exists or the biker groups exist because people are not necessarily in those groups, but they support them in some small ways, in different ways. That's why I think this is a smart idea. And I don't understand why people haven't, it hasn't started like that. Because it may not be the most profitable thing. It's still going to be profitable because you can still mark it up. You look at what you're competing against. Snake oil, chemotherapy, and radiation, right? which don't work, which kills people and tortures them and steals all their money. In the case of putting out medicinal marijuana oil, hey, it could be marked up a lot, but it ain't gonna be marked up like chemotherapy and the crap that comes out of the hospital. I mean, you got guys in there getting like, $200 an hour to read a graph. He comes in there, he reads a graph for like 10 minutes, and he charges you, $100 because he spent 10 minutes reading a graph. That's bullshit. And that's why, you have these alternative organizations come about. I want to point this out because these kind of one percenters, and really they're more like 1 basis point, are opposite ends of the financial one percenters. The financial one percenters are 1 basis point people. And that's where the light bulb's going to come on at one point in time, and you're going to look at these financial people like an overly ripe apples sitting on a tree just waiting to be picked. It's just that they don't know the mechanism how to do it. They don't know the mechanism all the way how to do it. And I don't know either, too. I got some ideas, but and I've been exposed to some crazy crap that was going on with Russian people. I don't know everything that goes on with that stuff, but a lot of times people are too worried about bullshit, and the answer's staring them right in front of the face. Don't be a conformist. That's number one. Think for yourself, act for yourself, and don't get led around by the nose. If you can actually do those type of things, you already defeated the elite. You destroyed them. You cut them off. You cut off their air supply. So that's the way you win. That's the way you win. I want to point that out. Don't worry about all the giddy little rumors out there.